So as someone who's been doing photography and videography for a while and getting more into the commercial world and being quote-unquote a cinematographer, I think we often find ourselves forgetting that there's always so many more things to learn and to always try to improve. And you might feel the same way. So today we're going back to basics. We're going to be looking at lighting setups. We're going to be using one light but with a bunch of different modifiers and techniques to be able to shape that light. So for this video I'm using the Amaran 200X, which is a 200 watt light. Really quickly I want to mention that I will be lighting from camera left, and the reason I'm doing this is because there is a window on the camera left. And generally when I do lighting, I want to keep it as natural as possible, and the window acts as motivation for your lighting, which makes the viewer think that the window is actually where the light is coming from and not from your actual light. You could light it from camera right, but then it just looks a little off and makes you kind of wonder where the light is coming from. I think what movies do really well is that they always make the light look like it's coming from something natural and doesn't actually look lit. And of course, if you are looking for that style, then definitely you can light it from the other side, but in this case I want to make it as natural as possible, so I'm going to be lighting from camera left. Because I'm also kind of mimicking an interview setup here, you want to make sure that your talent is also looking between the camera and the light. This makes sure that you're shooting into their shadow side, where if the talent is looking away from the light, then you're now shooting into the lit side. Okay, so let's start off with our first scene, which is just natural lighting. You're going to see that I'm already slightly lit from the window coming from the left, which is exactly why we want to place our key light to camera left, so it makes it look like our light is coming from the window. In this shot, I'm only lit from the window, so it does make it hard to balance out an exposure, because since I need to increase the exposure for myself, the window does get blown out a little more than I would like. Now we're going to bring in our key light, but we're just going to shoot it bare with no diffusion right out of subject. So since we are adding in lighting, the subject's face does get lit up more than just using natural light, but the problem is that it's actually very harsh. You can see that the actual light hitting my face isn't too bad, although it's still not ideal, but you can definitely see that the highlights just transition very quickly into the shadows and there's no gentle fall off. I would almost rather just opt for using natural light and increasing the exposure on the camera, which does blow out the window a little bit more than I would like, but the light quality would definitely be a lot softer than just doing direct light on my face. For the second shot, we're going to be using a cone, and we're going to be shining it directly into my face again. So a cone helps focus the light more, and because the insides of it is silver, it also helps boost the power of the light and kind of makes it act like a spotlight, which is exactly what it's doing here. The light output is a little bit lower because of the boost in light, but that makes the light on my face even harsher. However, since the light is a lot more direct, there's a lot less spill on the background. Sometimes in some certain scenarios you might want this very harsh look, but generally you want to avoid shooting without any kind of diffusion at all. Now a method to diffuse the light is to bounce it off of different surfaces, and luckily I have white ceilings. So that's what we did here. So this is just the bare light bouncing off of the ceiling. You can definitely see that the light is a lot softer compared to just shining it directly in my face, and the fall off between the highlights and shadows is a lot more gradual and gentle. One thing you might notice is that because I am bouncing it straight up, I have a lot less control of where the light is going, which is why the background is illuminated a lot more. If you're looking for a style lighting where you light up a subject and bring up the room ambience a bit, this might be a good option to try. Next we're going to bounce a light into the ceiling again, but we're going to be using a cone. So again, it still gives it a tiny boost of power, but you can see that it controls the spill of the light a lot more because it is more direct. Both of these options are great if you have white ceilings or white walls and no other modifiers or diffusion, and it still offers you some very nice soft light and is a much better choice than shining it directly at your subject. Next we have 5-in-1 reflectors, which I think are very underrated. 5-in-1 reflectors are great because they're very versatile because you have 5 different modifiers in one small package. First we're going to start off by using the diffuser here and just shoot the light straight through the diffusion. So compared to just shooting the light directly at my subject's face with no diffusion, shooting through the diffusion definitely is softer and you can see a big difference. It's not as soft as bouncing the light up. Usually if you're able to bounce the light, it does make it softer than shooting through something, but you do get a lot more control of the light spill on the background. If you compare it to the cone, you can see that now the light is still diffused because we're shooting it through the diffuser, but just like before, the cone offers a bit more power and control with the light. There's a lot less spill in the background, and we actually had to drop the light power a little bit because of the boost in light that the cone gives. It offers a pretty good contrast ratio and is definitely way better than just shooting the light bare into my subject. Now like I mentioned, usually if you can bounce the light at something, it's a lot softer than shooting through diffusion, so we're going to try that here. We switched to the white of the 5-in-1 reflector so it is a reflector, and instead of shooting through it, we're going to bounce the light. Here I still have the light higher than the reflector so that when it bounces, it still bounces down towards me and it doesn't bounce up into the ceiling. Compared to just bouncing the light at the ceiling, it offers more control because you're able to set the angle of the bounce, where bouncing on the ceiling just kind of throws it everywhere. And if you compare the two, it definitely is softer than just shooting through the diffusion. One thing to keep in mind is that while bouncing light does make it softer, you might run into a problem where if you're not using super powerful lights, you might not have enough power to actually bounce the light and get good light on your subject, so just something to keep in mind. Now again, if you want to boost your light a little bit, you can try using a cone and bouncing that into the reflector. And you can see that this works because since we had the cone, it gives you a little boost in light, and we had to lower the power output a little bit. This also gives you less spill in the background because the cone is containing the light a little bit better. Compared to shooting through the diffuser, bouncing it off the reflector is definitely softer and gives a very nice roll off on my face, and the light wraps around a lot more. I really like this option because with one light and a 5-in-1 reflector, which is very portable, you're able to get a ton of different looks and is very versatile. Now let's move on to the softboxes, which is probably the most commonly used diffusers. So the first softbox we have is the Aperture Light Dome Mini, which is a 23-inch softbox. The Light Dome Mini has 2 diffusers in it, and I left both in because most softboxes generally come with 2 diffusers, and because we are using a softbox to get softer light, we will want to use both diffusers. You can see that the light quality of this is really nice, and it's a great setup if you just want a very simple one modifier system that looks great in a lot of scenarios. The light is pretty well controlled, again the quality of the light is really good, and the size of this softbox is very small and portable. Now most softboxes do come with a grid, or you can at least purchase a grid for it. And the purpose of a grid is designed to focus the light more and make sure that there's no spill. You can even see on this BTS camera how much the light and spill is cut when I just put it on. I usually do recommend a grid if your light has enough power because it helps you control the light more and make sure that there's no spill on the background. Now one thing I like to do is to feather the light, and even though we have a softbox which is very soft light, instead of just having the softbox directly pointed at me, I still like to kind of point it so that it's almost cutting in front of my face, which helps make the light a lot more soft. You can see this tiny little difference that it makes, but it just makes it extra soft because the brightest part of the light is not hitting me. It's almost like the fall off is hitting me, which is super soft. Next we swapped out the Light Dome Mini for a bigger softbox. This is a 33-inch softbox, and the obvious downside is that it is bigger and it's harder to fit into small spaces and more annoying to carry around. The upside is because the diffuser is bigger, you are getting softer light. Generally, the bigger your light source, the softer the light. So this is with 2 diffusion but no grid. As you can see, the light quality is very nice, you have very good contrast ratio, and a very gentle fall off on the other side of my face. Once we add in the grid, we can see that same super soft light, but now our ambient is also a lot more controlled because there's less spill. Again, if you are going for that super soft look, if you're able to fit it, a bigger softbox will give you softer light. Another thing to keep in mind is that because I am sitting down and only lighting half my body, both the smaller softbox and the bigger softbox can fully light me. However, if you're trying to light someone who's standing up, then the smaller softbox will give you some issues because it's not going to be able to reach the whole body and light up everything. So that means that you would have to move the softbox farther away from the subject. And generally, the closer you can get your light source to your subject, the softer the light will be. So if you're looking for max softness and you want to light a whole body, a bigger modifier will help you do that. Just something to keep in mind depending on the scenario and subject. Again, even with the bigger softbox, I like to feather the light to get the maximum amount of softness and gentle roll off. Now onto a few more not as practical lighting methods to try. We tried bouncing the light at the reflector just like we did in the beginning, but now we also have a softbox in front. We also tried shooting the light through a softbox and then through the diffuser. Both of these methods offer very soft light because you have so much diffusion and bounce, but the problem is that it cuts your light output so much that you're going to need so much power. In both of these examples, I'm at 100%, and in some scenarios, my 200 watt light won't even be powerful enough. So again, light output is probably going to be your limiting factor, but if you do happen to have a light powerful enough for this, both of these options are very good options to try if you want to get even softer light. Next, we have a lantern. I recently picked this up, but I've actually been liking this a lot. So the point of a lantern is to kind of just throw light everywhere. There is going to be more spill because of the shape of the lantern, but the light quality is super soft and it looks great. It's kind of similar to bouncing the light straight up, but you still have a lot more control over your light spill and the quality of the light is really good. I would pick up a lantern if I was trying to light my subject and bring up the ambience a bit, but still kind of control the spill on the background, or if I was lighting multiple people, like in a podcast scenario. Some final methods to try is some overhead lighting, and this gives a very contrasty, almost moody look if you're looking for that. So starting off with the Light Dome Mini, this offers the same great quality of light, but now you have more shadows under the chin. You want to be careful where the subject is, and you can see that when I'm moving forwards and backwards, how fast I get into a territory where the light doesn't look good. If I'm too far ahead of the softbox, then shadows appear under my eyes, and if I'm too far back, then I move away from the light source and I'm not lit at all. Now switching to the bigger softbox overhead, it's pretty similar to the Light Dome Mini, but now you have a little bit more leeway on where your subject can be just because the modifier is so big. For both of these options, if you specifically want an overhead light, you can also try placing a reflector underneath the subject's chin, which can help bring up some of the shadows and makes it a little less contrasty. An easy way to see where to place a reflector is to just put it underneath the subject's chin and move it around and see what it does. And finally, we have the lantern placed overhead. Because of the shape of the lantern and how it throws the light out, this is a very soft look, and compared to just having the lantern on the side, this gives you a very even lighting to the subject, which is great if that's what you're looking for. It's very soft and flattering with not too high of a contrast ratio, and just gives a very nice neutral lighting. And that's it with all of the lighting scenarios with some different modifiers that I have. Again, a little bit about this exercise. I think a lot of us tend to just think that we know everything, or since we've been doing this for so long that we don't need to go over the basics. But I think actually going over these just basic lighting setups where you can use it with one light, with or without a modifier, can be super helpful. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I am doing more commercial work and kind of transitioning more into like the cinematographer, DP role, so I will be doing a lot more BTS on different commercial shoots I've been doing. I recently did a car shoot and a restaurant shoot, so I will be posting a bunch of that. Again, hopefully this exercise was helpful. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments below. If you have any other suggestions or even videos that you'd like to see, different breakdowns, stuff like that, definitely let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more photo video content, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.